I am an active duty, non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Army. I support Ron Paul for president. This endorsement is not to be affiliated with the military in any official capacity, as that is unauthorized. This is simply my personal endorsement as an individual member of the armed forces. Anyone who serves takes an oath. It states, "I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic." The people leading this nation have proven that oath has lost its meaning. The only person who takes this oath seriously is Congressman Ron Paul. He first got elected to Congress in 1976, based on a strictly constitutional platform. That alone should be the case breaker for those who deem him unelectable. But sadly it isn't. Even worse, it has led him to be called crazy, kooky, and even extreme. The Constitution is the document that every government person is sworn to protect and defend. Yet so many things the government does today aren't authorized by the very document this country was founded on. The federal government has convinced itself it only needs to adhere to the parts of that Constitution which favors it at the time. Meanwhile, it ignores the other parts that might deem something illegal. The example I am focusing on right now is war. In order to constitutionally go to war, it must be declared by Congress. That hasn't happened since World War II. If we go to war without that congressional declaration, it's an illegal war, plain and simple. Yet, that hasn't stopped the most recent administrations, representing both parties, mind you, from doing just that. As a member of the armed forces, foreign policy plays a huge role in my life. As a member of the armed forces, I essentially am the current foreign policy. The military is charged with illegally invading and occupying other countries, bombing and then rebuilding them, while spreading our goodness. We have become the most insecure, arrogant country in the world. We feel the need to attack any country which one day might possibly, at some point, eventually be a threat to us. We have enough in our arsenal to blow the world up multiple times, and yet we're fretting over countries who might be building one nuclear bomb. Who are we to tell another country what they can or cannot do to defend itself? People have seemed to forget it's the Department of Defense, not offense. This is one reason, among others, I'm not staying in the service. I am tired of being part of a foreign policy which abuses us. Our current leadership cannot fathom why we have so many suicides in today's armed forces. Perhaps it could be spending year after year after year away from our families, some of us coming home to our families being gone. No, that's crazy. Their solution is simply to bring in the chaplain and show us hundreds upon hundreds of PowerPoint slides teaching us suicide prevention. The current POTUS said we will be out of Iraq by the end of the year. The current POTUS also promised that would be the first thing he did upon being sworn in. He was inaugurated in January 2009. It is now the tail end of 2011. We're still there, as well as now in more countries. Ron Paul is the only one running for POTUS who will immediately end all the current occupations. We can trust this will happen because he is against any war which isn't declared by Congress, any war advertised by propaganda. Speaking of propaganda, if the terrorists hate us because we're free, then why exactly are we over there imposing our freedom-based democracy to the Middle East? That seems a bit ironic, not to mention almost asking for it. Everyone else in the race agrees with the current situation. Yet Ron Paul has more monetary support from my active duty brethren than all of the other candidates combined. Yet if you were to ask the rest of the GOP and President Obama, we're crazy for supporting a crazy isolationist. I wonder how much combat time people like Santorum and Romney have in their service to our country. It's easy to defend a policy you insist is accurate when it's never directly affected you or your family. To insist this policy is accurate, despite all the proof it isn't, is foolish. Therefore, I invite any politician spreading war propaganda to leave their families for 6 to 12 months, strap on boots, and join our ranks. You hear crickets too? Yeah, same here. During one of the previous debates, Newt Gingrich stated he doesn't want to live in a country where people like Timothy McVeigh can succeed in their terrorist acts, only to be caught and convicted later. Dr. Paul brilliantly remarked that would be perfectly fine if you want to live in a police state. You could then also install a policeman and or a camera in every household in hopes of one day maybe preventing something such as domestic violence. But where would it end? I thought the movie Minority Report was entertaining, but never was I worried that its premise would one day become policy. Dr. Paul has quoted Benjamin Franklin many times, stating, "He who would give up 1 ounce of liberty for security deserves neither." It sounds to me that Newt Gingrich doesn't want to live in the same country or under the same principles that our founders had in mind. Lucky for him, he has the freedom to leave. In 2012, if you wish to thank a soldier for his service, don't do so verbally or even monetarily. Instead, please support the only candidate who truly supports the troops. You might not agree with his foreign policy, but ask yourself this: haven't the troops been fighting over there for long enough? I'll close with some quotes I think are pertinent to my argument, as well as solidify Ron Paul's foreign policy. "We will bankrupt ourselves in the vain search for absolute security." President Eisenhower. "Preventive war was an invention of Hitler. I would not even listen to anyone seriously that came and talked about such a thing." Also, President Eisenhower. "The means of defense against foreign danger historically had become instruments of tyranny at home." President Madison. "If tyranny and oppression comes to this land, it will be in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy." President Madison. Again, this is my personal endorsement for Ron Paul, not to be affiliated with the military in any official capacity, because that is unauthorized. This is my personal endorsement. Thank you for your time.